Hi, Rich here again. So this time I'm going to be working on my starter motor for my 115 horsepower 1995 Mercury. Last summer I noticed that when I would go down to launch and would try to fire it up, it would drag a little bit, and occasionally when I was out on the water, the starter motor would be dragging, and other times it would be running just fine. And then this season so far, it's still been a little bit cold. I'd get out there when I would first launch and turn the key, it would drag, but then it would kick up and it would start running. So I figured maybe it was time to start taking a look at things. I checked the battery and it's always fully charged. You can see my lights over here in the background that I have a battery monitor on each one of my batteries so I can monitor the voltage, and I have a timer on that I keep on the batteries, on the charger, so that I can make sure that they get charged a couple of times a day for about 15-20 minutes. I'm just trying to simulate like what a car would do. Start, go to work, start, come home again. I figured batteries last a lot longer that way, and since there's only a 1-year warranty on most standard batteries in boats, that I would try that, and so far it's worked out pretty good. I've gotten 2 years, almost 3 years out of this ignition battery by doing this. Yes, you do have to constantly monitor the water. So anyway, to get back, I'm going to be working on the starter motor, and we'll be showing you how to remove it, and one of the little tricks that I did for this to avoid having to create a tool, which according to my service manual, they wanted you to create a special tool to put the brushes back in, and I was able to create one, believe it or not, out of a Jif peanut butter lid, and it worked great. So you'll be seeing that later on. I'm working on the starter motor, as I said. You want to make sure that your battery is disconnected, completely disconnected, before we start anything, because we are dealing with some 12-volt wires, heavy gauge wire here, and you could arc and do damage. So it's pretty simple. I was really surprised at how easy the starter motor comes out. You have to open up this little clamp here to get this out of your way. If this is an inline fuse, main fuse, and then you have a 7/16 inch bolt here. This is the hot wire, the yellow wire. This is 7/16 also, 2 ground wires. This is another connection for the ground wire strap to go up here. And these are, I'm using 13 millimeter. I don't know why those are any different than any place else, but 13 millimeter work great for me. So those two are 13 millimeter, and then these two are 13 millimeter. And when you take those off, there's a collar here that will come off. This little bracket here is part of this. It holds the oil up there. And when you take all of those out, then all you have to do is just kind of jiggle this. But there's a strap that goes on here that holds all these wires together, and it's just a zip tie is all it is. And I believe it's all here, holds all this stuff together. So you have to cut that, and then once you get that off, then this whole piece slides down out of here. So after we've removed everything, what we do is I put a small block of wood in here, because this motor is pretty well wedged in here. You have a rubber collar on the bottom, and there's a rubber collar on the top, and I guess through the age they just get wedged in there, and it's really hard to pull. Maybe you're stronger than I am. I was afraid to damage or bend anything. I didn't want to put anything in here and pry against it, maybe bend something. So after I got all that out, I put a block of wood in here, and then I have this old brake adjusting tool, and it has a couple of different angles on here, and that was just perfect for getting under here and pushing this out just a little bit, just enough to get that loose on here so I can take this motor down out of here. And we'll be taking that over to the workbench and taking it apart. So now that we have it on the workbench, we're going to remove 2 rubber collars and 2 rubber bumpers. The rubber collars on each end, there's one there, and there's one on this end as well. And then there's 2 rubber bumpers. And they are, we can hold this steady. There's one, And there's one there. Come on, let's focus here. Oh, this would be better. Yeah. There's one there, and there's one over here on this side. So we're going to remove those 4 things. Okay, so those are removed now. And the top one and the bottom one, the big ones, are the ones, they just slide right off. I guess they got enough oil and grease in them. These little buggers, they were not easy to come out. I guess the heat got to them, I'm not sure, but they got fused to this area where they sit right here. So that's what it's supposed to look like when you get everything out of it. They're kind of like little H's that slide down in there. If I can hold still, there we go. But anyway, that's that little corner right there, and that's the doodads. And they were both mashed in there pretty good. So we'll see how it goes when we reassemble. The thing we're going to remove are the through bolts, they're called. And that's this one here, and this one over here. And those are going to come out. The end cap down here will come off. And the book has a caution that be careful, there's some, the small brush springs will come out. So be careful not to lose those. They can very easily. So I seem to have found my problem. This is the end cap, and of course these are the through bolts that I took out. And I was very slow and cautious about taking the end cap off, but this part here fell out. And it is no longer connected. You can see the little, I'll put this down here. No, it's not going to cooperate, but there's the little tick there where it gets connected. And there is the broken wire right there. The others are all connected. So after I took out those 2 through bolts and took off the end cap, which is this piece here, I have the armature, which is here. And I am not going to take off the this wheel and nut. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything works fine. It's just the motor was dragging, so I'm not going to remove that. One thing that I do want to note before I forget is that there's like a hex gear under here that needs 10-weight oil. And then on the tip of this shaft here, which goes down into the bottom of this end cap, that takes 10-weight oil too. So you want to make sure that you oil that. So everything's cleaned up. I cleaned up the bottom of the stator on here, and again I use contact cleaner and some paper towels, soft cloths. It's CRC contact cleaner. And now I went online and found that I can order the parts. It's difficult to get them. Motor's so old that every place that had the original Mercury parts, they either want $50 for them or they just don't have them in stock. And even the ones that are $50, they said they would have to order from Mercury to get them. So I don't know. And then this is the outside of the starter motor, which has the magnets on the inside. So I cleaned all that up too. Everything's cleaned up now, and I'm just waiting on the parts. Amazon had what I wanted. Sierra manufactured them, and so hopefully I'll get those this weekend or maybe Monday sometime. So this is the disassembled starter motor. This is the armature, and this is the sleeve, I think that's called. Starter frame, sorry, that's the starter frame. These are very powerful magnets on the inside here. I have already removed these series of nuts here, so I always put them in sequence with the install side up. This is the bottom that has the cap, it's called, that has the brushes inside. And in order to take the brushes out, we take the negative terminal brushes out first, and those are the ones that are held in place by these 2 screws, and these are 5/16. So we just take that screw out, and that brush comes out, and then we do the same thing on this side. And that brush comes out. And then we have our broken brush, of course, and the 4 springs. So we're taking all that out. And then in order to take out the positive ones, that's this one and the broken one, I had to, as I said, remove these nuts and washers that go on here, and they have to go back in sequence, because this is an insulating washer here, because this is the power, the 12 volts in, and this piece, this center piece comes out here, and then this comes out here, and it has the extra little washer, also an insulating washer to hold that, and that takes out those brushes. And then I'm going to clean this out. So now we have the new pack. This is from Sierra. Got this off of Amazon. I think it was $22, $23, something like that. And it comes from Amazon, so I got free shipping on that. There is a vendor out there that sells it for about the same price, $23, but he wants $18.95 for shipping. I don't know why. This is the box that it comes in. It's an 1856-97 brush and spring kit. It's Sierra, replaces Chrysler Force 15164, Mercury 75384, and OMC 385952. If you can see that. Standard pack, and inside of this we have our replacement positive ones, so that will be the terminal that goes in here, and this replacement insulating washer goes on that. We have the 2 negatives. We have 4 new springs. We have a new insulating washer and new nuts to go on there. When we reassemble, this part in here gets 1 drop. They're very specific about that. It says to put in 1 drop of 10-weight oil. And they're very insistent that you do not over oil this piece. That's the part that the shaft will go into. And I have cleaned this with a Q-tip and this with just some soft cloth to wipe off any excess grease, and we're going to put 10-weight oil in that. So then we have to put in, let's get the new stuff here. Put in the little wheel, and if you have to line it up, it'll only go in one way. And then you see where the screw holes are for the screws that we took out that we're going to put in later on. And then we're going to put in the positive terminal. And that will go in like that. And we'll get that stuff out of the way. And then we're going to put on, it looks like we put on this washer. And now on this one, these 2 nuts are exactly the same. I'm going to reuse my original equipment. I'm going to take that washer off and just reuse the original. Because this one has like a locking section on the top. It's grooved in there, and the new replacements do not. And I want to make sure that this thing does not come loose during operation. So we're going to tighten that down just enough. And then see if that wheel will go in that way. Yes, I think. Yes. Now, if I can get where the screw holes are. There we go. I'm a bit klutzy on that. So that we have that in there, and then this is a locking washer that will go on the outside of this. And put my nut back on. Now I'm not going to put this on too tight because this is there's a connector that when we install it back onto the motor that we have to put a cable on here, the positive cable on that. And then I'm trying to orient this so I get it right. So this will be the positive, these two here. A and A are positive, and B and B are negative, so that's the negative ones on here. So it says to install the positives first, and that's what we're going to do. Wouldn't hurt to put a spring in there. Okay. And then a new spring for this one here. So the positives and negative will be opposite each other. Let's see if I've got. Now on the old ones, they had like a little, this has CL on here, but as best as I can tell from on here, this is the bottom. I can see the wear grooves on the top. So this is the bottom, and this will give you the most use of the brushes. I apologize this is taking so long, but it's my first time, so be gentle. And he goes up and down nice. Okay, and then it says to put in the positive, the negative ones, and of course, let's see, put another spring in here. And then we have to get our screw. I think I said that this is a 5/16. I'm going to leave him loose, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. Because this one cable is going to have to go a little bit down on top of the positive one. I want to make sure that there's no way that that cable, so I'm going to move this a little bit. You do want this bare metal to come around and touch that, because that is positive. So let's see if we can't stretch this. All right. So we put all four of these in, and the next thing that we're going to do is to use our handy dandy little tool. Now, and I'm going to include a picture in the video. And what they want you to make is a piece that goes across here and onto the bottom. So it's kind of a U-shaped piece, and the purpose of it is to hold the brushes in place on the springs, yet let you have access to the shaft. So when you put everything together, you put this inside the sleeve there, and then this will slide down the middle of that and come in the bottom of that, and you're pressing down on these brushes all this time. Well, they want a specific, oh geez, size, and they give you a, and you'll see in the picture, it's a 18 gauge steel metal. I could find 24, 26, and I could find 16, and then I didn't have anything to cut it with, so I thought, well, what else could I make? And I keep a lot of these little empty Jif jars handy for paint and other things. So what I did was I took a lid of a Jif jar, and I set this on top and then drilled down through the middle a 1/2 inch, because that's what they want, is the 1/2 inch slot in here. And then I took my box cutter and cut the rest of that slot out, and then I cut the whole lid, you know, the rim off of the lid here. So now what I can do is, and I've already tested this, you know, I'm not going to push all the way down, but what you do is you get everything lined up in here, and you push this down, and I'll try to do that on the video. And then you put this inside of here, and then you put the whole thing on top of this, and then when you get everything nice and situated on there according to the marks, and I'll show that too, this slides out, and all your brushes are all lined, you haven't broken anything off, and it will all look good. And then you just have to tighten down the screws, and we'll install it back on the motor again. Now we're going to do the final assembly and use my special little tool. So the first thing that we're going to do is put 1 drop, and they're very specific about this, 1 drop of oil in the pivot point here. Come on, oil. Here we go. 1 drop. All right. And then we have to put this part inside of this part. Now, this looks pretty much the same either way, but one end is deeper than the other end is. This is pretty shallow up here between the magnets and the lip. So the larger area is the bottom. That's the part where the cap goes. So we're going to take this. Somehow I managed to get oil on me. I'm going to take this, and we're going to drop it into here. Wow, watch your fingers, because it does go in fast. Okay, now there is a mark on the post. Hopefully it's visible. Right here, there's a notch on this top part, on this top ring. And then there's just like a cut in the outside shell here. And then there's something similar for the bottom. But if you look on the ring, you'll see like a little notch on the inside, and there's a similar one on here. Oh, I guess I better put my little special tool on. So like I said, the idea is that you want to get everything smushed down inside. And one final look to make sure that we are not touching. That's right, nothing else is touching. So I just kind of slip this on and go under each edge on here. And then I would just want to expose where that socket there is. And then I want to put that right down inside there. And now you can see that it's all together, except we have the red part in there, which we are now going to just slide out. in she goes. I've lost my spot. Okay, there's you. There. There is a small mark right in front of where this post is, and then a long mark on the casing. So now the whole thing is together, and you can feel it snap, and then it will not rotate in that position. We take the through bolts and slide those in. Now they're a little sticky going down because the magnet is grabbing them. You can feel that magnet, so just push a little bit beyond that. And then I believe this is 3/8. Just put a little downward pressure on them, tighten them up. We'll check the torque here in a second. And the shaft is rotating easily, so that means most likely that they're lined up properly. Okay, and then I'm going to put the ring here and a ring there. So we got the rings on, and then I need my little rubber washers, or whatever these things are, little grommets. And I think that they just go slide down in these other grooves, like so. And then let me find the torque. 70 inch-pounds. 70 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. Or 8.0 Newton meters. And we will check the torque. Again, I'm going to take this ring off. I shouldn't have put it on right away. Just didn't want to forget it. We are set to 70 inch-pounds. You got a click on that one, and a click on that one, and just to make sure that you know and that I was able to get it in the video, this long mark here lines up with the little mark that's right above this terminal. There's like a little raised mark on the top part and a little cut into the black here, and that lines up. And when you put everything together, before you tighten these bolts down, you shouldn't be able to move this. They should have fit into the slots itself. And that's it. You put on the bottom ring, and then we put on the top ring, and we are ready to, oh, and don't forget the little ring, the little rubber thingies over here on this side. And that should be it. We should be ready to go. I always like to put a little 2,4C up on these gears that engage the flywheel up there. Doesn't take much. Just a little bit to smear it on there. And we've already put some, like I told you at the beginning, it's down here. There is a little helical gear. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me do this. Any better? Let me show that in there. little helical gear in there. It gets a couple of drops of 10 weight oil. And then the motor will go up in here. We're going to replace it. So we put the motor up into where it's going to engage the flywheel. There's a collar that goes here, and of course that collar is also for the well, it helps. For the oil reservoir. So the two bolts up here at the top with this collar, and this is I'm using a 13 millimeter, which is kind of odd. It fits better. Might be because it had paint on it. The regular one wouldn't fit right. And we have the bottom collar. I had a little trouble with those two little H-shaped rubber bumpers. I don't know what the issue is with that. I don't see anything other than they just sit there. There's nothing that they are connected to or that they bounce off of. So this is a ground strap that's going to go from this bolt that I'll have to take back out again. Live and learn, I guess. Okay. Okay, we have installed this cable on the bottom right corner, bottom right bolt. The bottom left bolt has this clamp to hold the fuse. The stud here on the bottom third of the starter motor is a positive connection. It is the yellow connection. And then moving up, we have 2 ground connections here on this side, and then this larger one connects up to this top right bolt, and this top left bolt has nothing on it. The bolts, these 4, get torqued to 14.5 foot-pounds. 14.5 foot-pounds. I have put a little bit of 2,4-C grease on the gear up here, and I'm probably going to take this flywheel cover off just to check the clearance on that starter before I throw the thing in gear. And I think that's all of the connections. Again, I didn't see any reason why those little rubber things are on that corner over there. It doesn't make any sense to me. The top and bottom collars, agreed, they do function. And they're under, the top one is under this holder that also holds the motor oil, engine oil. And the bottom one, it just holds these 2 bolts, and that should be it. So I'm gonna torque this. There's that one. These are very subtle clicks on this torque wrench. And it's a little bit tight. Yeah, this cable, this nut on here is 60 inch-pounds. 60 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. That is a 7/16 on here. Okay, so that one's torqued as well. So now all we need to do is just put this one on here. And we can pinch that back down to hold that in place. And we're going to put it all out there on the driveway, and we'll give it a test shot. One more thing before taking it out into the driveway is might as well put this cover on here. It's probably fairly well functional to do that. And this is a 5/16 on here. And I had this thing serviced under warranty, and the good people decided to not put on this bottom screw down here. So it's, I only have 3 screws. So the final test. Now I've got it set with the kill switch so it won't crank, well, it won't fire. So the power is there and it's behaving nicely, so I can't wait to get it out on the water. First nice day, off I go. Hope you have good luck with yours. You can put a comment at the bottom if you have a question and I'll try to answer it. Thanks for looking.